Hey, Bum.
Hey, Hampman.
I hear you're a fan of the Dark Demons Souls
Yeah,
games.
Demons of Souls is great. I love it.
I love just getting all those souls from all those demons, showing them who's boss. So, you may not know... actually, you do know because I told you before we started recording. This is Kingsfield, which is by the developers of those games, by From Software. See, it says it right there on the title screen, so you know I'm not lying.
My goodness, there were no fields in that intro, so they're already lying to us. Good start From Software.
This way to go. It's been 20 years at this point, and it started off with a lie. This is how it all began, the humble beginnings.
The graphics are actually better than Demon Souls. So I heard this is essentially like first-person Dark Souls, but
give or
from
take.
a person who's not reliable.
Give or take. It is a first-person game, released for the PS1 in 1994, released in Japan only. All this English you're seeing here is from a fan translation, which I was lucky enough to download. Because without the English translations, this game would be even more incomprehensible than it already is. Even with the English translation, it's still probably one of the most cryptic games. More so than the Dark Souls and the Demon Souls, I would reckon.
Yeah, I was gonna say that Souls games there's no way of discerning the story even with English turned on, so...
And that tradition started here.
Is this Minecraft 1.0?
Little did people know that before Minecraft, Notch was actually part of the From Software development team, and, you can see the beginnings, the inklings of those ideas here.
I love that they told you there was a hidden door.
Well, that's because I was using the search function. I was using the key that, inspects whatever you're looking at. And if you just run against walls to inspect them, you'll find all sorts of hidden doors and hidden switches and miscellaneous hidden goodies.
So what's the control like?
Awful. This is probably one of the slowest games I've ever played. Just in terms of movement speed, in terms of this combat, which you see here. This is early in the game, and I'm pretty low level at this point, but these are low level enemies as well. And it takes about 1,000 hits to kill these guys, and there's 3 of them, as you can tell in this little scenario here.
There's 3 of them.
But no, this game is very plodding, very slow, very deliberate, I think is the word for it. And yet you need perfect timing in the combat here as far as when to move in and attack and when to back away.
So at least when you die, you don't have to go pick up your souls or anything like that.
No, you just start from the beginning of the game. Every time you die.
Oh, you're kidding? What?
You can save, and you can load those saves, but whenever you die, it just starts you back at the beginning of the game, just to mess with you.
What the fuck?
It's just cruelty. So, that famous From Software cruelty began this early as well. This game, it doesn't have so much of the Dark Souls influence. There are some references to these games hidden in Demon Souls and Dark Souls, I think. But Kingsfield 2, which was Kingsfield 1 in the States, just keeping up that tradition of importing games from Japan and fucking up the numbering right away. That game is more in tune with the Demon Souls or Dark Souls. Here's the save function in this game, where they handily have a format option right next to where you'd actually be want to saving your game. Because I don't think they understood how memory cards worked back in 1994.
I'd like to format my entire memory of playing this game. So, how many Kingsfield games were there in the end?
4.
4, yeah, I thought so.
The last one came out on PS2, if I remember correctly.
Was it better than this?
It was about the same as this. This isn't... Well, let me say this much. And by the way, we're talking to some NPCs here, none of which have faces.
Yeah, I thought it was a statue for a second.
Which that carries on over into 2 and 3 in Kingsfield. They never wanted to put that extra level of effort in, I guess. That extra level of detail. So I would say that this game... I was about to say that this game is bad, because it is. This is not a good game. It's very slow and plodding, and even the fact that it, was an early, very early 3D FPS, 1994. Bear that in mind. This is a very old game.
Oh yeah, I was a baby when this came out.
There were innovations here for sure, but it's just not a great game.
It reminds me of IO Interactive's early stuff. The first 2 Hitman games were nowhere near as good as the stuff they later became known for, like the amazing Kane and Lynch 2. And
instant classic.
But the point I guess I'm trying to make is all good game companies start out by getting all the crap out of them instead of like trying to hold it up and wait years to perfect their craft. They just, release 4 Kingsfield games and then they've got it all out of their system and then they're making something good. And in a way, I kind of enjoy bad games because it makes me think, oh, but next time they'll learn from all these horrible mistakes with the spiders.
The infinite spiders.
That respawn.
This is one of these spots you want to grind for, because you gotta grind this game. You need to power level, you need to get yourself to a point where you're not dying in 2 hits to standard enemies in this game. Because, I mean, armor and gear and that sort of stuff is sort of hard to come by. It's not just random drops off of enemies. I mean, there's deliberately placed items that you have to really go on a hunt for in order to find them.
Is there any sort of leveling system where you can decide what you do with your points, or do you just have to use everything at your disposal to...
Basically, you can become one of 2 sort of classes by the end, but that's determined by what kind of attacks you do. If you use your melee weapons, if you use the swords, you become a sword master at some point. But if you start using the magic in the game, which they don't give you for a while anyway, then you become some sort of magician. But you just gotta be practicing it and using what you want to be using by the end game as early as possible in this game to make sure that you get the right class at the end. But no, you don't allocate any points or anything. Now, some of these walls here, I was mentioning the hidden walls earlier, but what I forgot to mention was that some of them are mandatory, that you have to find these hidden walls, which is a thing I never like in games. You should never force people to find secrets.
I don't know, it's kind of cool, like, forcing them to have to figure out the game's intricacies, but probably not if it's garbage first-person bad interface that you have to figure out. Like, I can understand it in a good game.
This isn't like an NES game, though. We're past this one. We're on the PS1. We need to move past that NES mentality bullshit.
Oh, jeez!
So this game is brutally difficult. I mean, as you probably expect from a From Software banger, but at the same time, even though I said this game is kinda crap, which it is, I still played this for about 10 hours straight. I didn't need to. I definitely didn't need to do that, but I did it.
It's addictive gameplay, and you're addicted to getting shot by fireballs.
Evidently.
You know, the lizard men were my, like, greatest enemies in the first Dark Souls game. They were super hard, but at least they didn't shoot fireballs. Oh, jeez. Now you're gonna start the whole game again.
From the top, boys.
Well, another 10 hours. Get back to me later.
Kingsfield, everybody, a game I hate to kinda sort of love.